Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video in which our OP was following orders in the military, but the way he chose, to put it mildly, is not the most usual. That's why this story's so interesting. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Me, an Army sergeant, and a colonel's door. I had the opportunity to work with a lot of different people in the military. Enlisted, officers, Army, Navy, Marine, Air Force. One thing I found was generally the higher the rank, the better the officer. So I'm offering up this story with my encounter with a colonel and a sergeant. As a CB assigned to Public Works, we had duty hours from 7 to 4 Monday through Saturday, and short of having to take a watch or work in an emergency, we generally had evenings and Sundays off. My living quarters were located just off my shop, and the phone was ringing itself off the hook one Sunday morning. Irritated that the call hadn't gone through the front office, I staggered from my bed to answer it and was promptly informed that a couple of enlisted over at Army encampment had gotten into a fight, and one of them was thrown through the colonel's door, and I should get someone over there right away. Rather than screw up one of my GI's day off, I decided to handle it myself. When I pulled up to the colonel's office, I was amazed to find that all that was left of the door was the top rail in hinge style. I took measurements, went back to the shop and cut a piece of plywood to fit, drove back and proceeded to nail up the plywood on what was left of the door. This is when the sergeant went into his first rant, and I had to explain to him that we didn't just pull a ready-made door out of stock, but that one would have to be built. Because the glue had to dry, he wouldn't be seeing a door until Tuesday. Tuesday came, and because I had all of my GIs taking out crews, I opted to take the Vietnamese inside shop crew over myself. When we arrived at the colonel's office, I found the sergeant still in a very ugly mood, which I chose to ignore. I directed my workers to put in the door, and while they were working, the sergeant came over to one of my workers and gave him a shove. I responded by jumping in between them and told the sergeant that he was not to touch my workers. We got the door in, and my workers were proceeding to install a doorknob. Side note here, the original door's doorknob had the lock in it, but there wasn't one available, but we were going to install a deadbolt lock in addition to the doorknob. The sergeant went off again and started screaming that the door wasn't any good if he couldn't lock it up, and that I might as well wall it up. I tried to explain to him that we were going to install a deadbolt, but he went into a full-blown rant and just kept screaming at me to wall it up. Then he kicked one of my Vietnamese workers who was kneeling to put in the doorknob. Big mistake. I motioned my workers out to the truck and grabbed a hammer and some 16-penny nails and nailed that damn door shut. Drove back to my shop and was sitting in my office cooling off when the phone rang. It was the colonel, asking if I just had one of my men over there fixing the door. I told him no, it was me personally. His tone of voice changed and he said, "Oh, is there a problem?" I told him that there wasn't a problem, as the sergeant in his front office didn't care for our workmanship and that he wanted it walled up, so I obliged him. The colonel told me he'd speak to the sergeant, but he needed a favor. I said sure and asked him what he needed. He said, "Would you come back over here and let us out?" "What? You don't have a back door?" I tore on over there, and during the whole time I'm apologizing, and the sergeant's apologizing, and the colonel's just standing there laughing. And our second story. Landlord doesn't want me to fix anything? Fine by me. Quite a few years ago, I became a student in some 85,000 people town. And having a bit of money on the side from late grandpa, I decided I'd find myself a one-room flat instead of campus, where I'd probably be drinking and doing stupid crap. I found a fairly cheap flat to rent just at the outskirts of the town. Not in the best condition, but who cares? It's a living. Landlord seemed okay, in his late 40s or early 50s. We signed a contract and it was all done. Now, before I start writing further, I always paid rent and everything else, water, electricity, on time, and there was no issue with that, or noise from me, or anything of such kind. Now, once I moved in, I noticed the flat was a mess. Everything was waiting to collapse, from old wooden chairs with effed up wood joints mold on the shower curtain, semi-broken window frame, and a dirty mattress. The guy cleverly managed to hide it, and I missed all of it. But never mind, me being a bit handy with everything, I decided to fix most of it myself. So I bought bleach for the toxic sludge in the bathroom, some wood glue for the chairs, tile glue for the floor, etc. This guy comes in for rent next month and sees the tiles are in order. I removed the ugly yellow carpet. He was angry. And I mean really angry. "If you have a problem, you call me. Don't fix it yourself, stupid village idiot." Village idiot is maybe the nicest translation given that he insulted me based on me coming from a 500 people village. Want to play that way? Fine by me. I'm not an aggressive or confrontational guy, but I hold a grudge and I'm smart enough to make a bit of a ruckus. I decided to take it literally enough and call him for every little flea-sized problem I can find. So a plan was made. I took pictures and documented everything, from bigger issues to smallest, including a slightly bent night lamp leg. I looked up his schedule, early days of social media were perfect for that, and crossed it with mine, so I knew when to call for repairs. Now, under contract, he wasn't allowed in unless I gave him permission to be there with me, so I decided I'd make him do repairs while I'm there. How to ensure he'd fix everything? Easy. Back up all pictures with damages and say it'll end up on all the social media and even the local newspaper if need be. Or, thanks to my buddies at college, ensure that his name would come out in a mandatory information email for new students at the beginning of the school year, so everybody would avoid him in the future. And it worked, a bit to my surprise. And the hell started for him. He wasn't used to manual labor, an investor dealing in gray areas of the economy, but he was too cheap to pay somebody to do it for him. He didn't know how to screw in a light bulb, let alone fix a kitchen table or windowsill. I regularly called him to reschedule to the most idiotic times like 6 a.m. or 11 p.m., sometimes even letting him start driving his car to the flat, only to call him back that I'm unavailable. I was a monster, sending him requests to repair the smallest ant bites in the rug and annoying him all the time, like humming a song he despised. Until 2 months in, when I realized he was white as talc powder and tired as an infant just off the boob. It turned out he started smoking again due to stress and couldn't get any sleep because of me for days at a time. Finally, when he went to unscrew the drain pipe in the mini kitchen, I asked him, "Want me to take care of it?" He looked at me the same way Bernie Sanders looks at Sweden's spending budget and apologized for being a jerk. Finally, the flat was fairly okay to live in, and after the contract ended, I signed up for the campus room. I'm glad you were able to repair the relationship after he flat out refused to let you help him. And our final story. Are you blind, stupid, or both? Meet the cast. Me, OP, Karen, K, Manager, M. This happened last week. Had a long and overall crappy day with events that'll be revealed later. I decided to go to the market and get some supplies for the upcoming shift. I had a full day shift that day, FML, and on my phone talking to my superior asking what they need from the store. Went into the chip section and picking up about 4 packets of chips and started to walk away when I heard the infamous throat clearing that could only come from the guardian of hell herself, Karen. Thinking to myself, I can't be this unlucky today. Turning around to a 5'2" woman around 45 years old. Conversation ensues. OP, can I help you? Karen, yes, where's the item? I don't know. OP, I think it's 2 aisles over. K, how could you not know? Why does this store even hire idiots like you? OP, I'm sorry, but I have to know. Are you blind or stupid by chance? K, how effing dare you call me blind? Storming off, thinking it was the end of it. Oh, how wrong I was. She came back with the manager in tow, looking smug. She sees me on my phone, so grabbed my phone and threw it on the ground. Same phone I'm using to type this out, just with the screen replaced. The manager comes up to me and realization set in for him, and I understand how bad the situation is at this point. OP, turning to manager, get why I called her blind? Manager, looking at me as his face turns from confusion to containing his laugh. Props to him, he kept it professional when even I had a hard time keeping quiet. Ma'am, this man clearly doesn't work here. K. Then why is he in uniform? OP. Ma'am, take a good hard look at me from head to toe and then ask again. Karen, looking at my uniform and face turning from red to as pale as printing paper. Context. My uniform is a dark blue beret, dark blue button-up, dark blue pants, and the piece de resistance, my belt that had my sidearm holster with my sidearms clearly inside, a taser, handcuff holster, and spare magazine holsters all on my belt, along with my M4 rifle slinged on my neck. I'm a narcotics officer who literally got off a tragic case and getting snacks for my teammates. OP, seeing your reaction, literal gold if only I could release the body cam footage, I'm going to give you two options right now. Pay me back what my phone costs, or I'm going to arrest you for harassment, theft of property, and damage to property. Karen, now realizing what she'd done, turned tail and ran. Of course, I had no choice but to chase and tackle her. She was able to get loose for that split second and uses her chance to take a box of cereal. I crap you not. And attacked me, so I tased her and cuffed her. Called in a unit nearby, because even after handcuffs, she still fights back, kicking, headbutting. Even when her ankles were cuffed, she tried to get away like a cartoon caterpillar. Eventually, my partner shows up and uses a boar cuff, a type of cuff that, once done properly, will force the suspect arms and legs to be bound like natives taking a boar, hence the name, to subdue her, and it took both of us just to get her in the cruiser. Tired of this, I just told my partner to explain her rights to her and walked back into the store and got all the things I need, paid, and left. She was a repeat offender, so this event just added to her previous charges. She's booked for court tomorrow. Fun fact, her name really is Karen. Wow. She was blind and dumb. The fact that her name was actually Karen was icing. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.